Namaste and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology debunking mythology. Sattology means science of truth or study of truth. Opposite of that is mythology, which means science or study of fake, lie, or imagination. In the academic circles, don't use the word mythology for Ramayana and Mahabharata and also Puran, because all three books have been validated millions of times by people previous to me, and many people have presented proofs for it over the years in history. Is I'm not the only one doing that. Many people have done that, and I'll take some names for you: Kanchi Shankaracharya, Pandit Kota Venkatachalam. There are many other great scholars even today who are living and representing those proofs based on Ramcharitmanas, Valmiki Ramayana, and many traditions of India do that. And I was hearing one talk of His Holiness Shankaracharya of Puri, Nichalan Swamiji, and very wonderfully has analyzed many of these points also. And there are other people who are quoting Ramcharitmanas for proofs. So none of this in the Western world should be called a mythology. Mythology is a word which was created to undermine Vedic heritage. And our fight is against the word, not against anything else, because the academic world decides the narrative for their own people, and somehow Indians react, Hindus react. And just like the West doesn't react on the reports of Barkha of India, similarly, Hindus should not react on reports of any of the Western countries. So for that topic, I have a very special guest today. She writes very wonderfully. She has inspired many people, and she is a German living in India and soon to become an Indian citizen soon. So
hopefully. I don't know.
So let's welcome Maria Wirth. Let's welcome Maria Wirth.
Thank you, Namaste.
Namaste.
I hope your word is true that I become Indian citizen.
Just came out.
Yeah, it has to be.
So Paramatma's voice. So it will definitely come true. Our prayers are with you. They definitely come true. And also it says shame on many Indian Americans also, people who have died to take the American citizenship. But here is an example of Europeans taking Indian citizenship. Actually, by the way, this was predicted by many sadhus of India, that the people in the West will stand in queues to take citizenship of India. And many people have done in the past, but it's increasing now. Numbers are increasing. I can see at least 10 or 15 more sadhus from USA taking citizenship of India. So, Mike, now coming to the main topic today. So, just tell me, how does a Western mind think of India? Because you know both sides. You can read fluent in German, and you can see how the Europeans think about India based on what they learn from their textbooks.
Well, there are some like me who think very highly of India, but actually we are the minority, unfortunately. And my feeling is that in the last 20 years, this attitude that it is negative towards India is increasing. That many people have started to, see the negative points only and not see, believe the media. And Aditya, can't I see you now? Do you have to switch off? So I can't hear.
For recording purposes, we are doing it. Just remember.
Okay. It's for me. It's difficult to speak to my own picture. Anyway, I listened just yesterday or day before yesterday to a German podcast, not podcast, but a TV show. And it was for the first time, or not first time, but they acknowledge now that India is coming up as a kind of important power, if not superpower yet, but economically especially. But still, they will kind of look down on India and spread this kind of kanat that this right-wing policy of Modi, it is endangering Muslims, and this is so wrong somehow. Now, when when I recently, which you mentioned also, the happiness report, when this came out from the UN sponsored, it was such a shock actually for me that India is on number 126 out of 136 countries in happiness. It's obviously so wrong. And number one is Finland, number two, Denmark, and then I think three, Iceland. These very cold countries, which, something is really not right. And even they don't ask about happiness. I saw that they have strange parameters like income, health, freedom, absence of corruption. I don't know whom they asked and how many they asked, but my feeling is they want to make Europeans feel that there are people even more unhappy than we are, we Europeans. Because basically life is quite empty there. And this liveliness which is here in India, especially among the youth, it is so bubbling with life in a way. And I feel people would be very jealous in Europe. So but one strange thing I noticed also, some Germans, they happily believe it. They would send me the report, but even one Indian friend from a neighbor, she sent it, look at us. So it almost seems that there are some Indians in India who seem to be happy that India is rated as unhappy in a way. So this is a very strange thing. But I would say Indians must not take it seriously. Foreign Minister was very right when he debunked it. It needs to be debunked. And I feel there's this agenda behind it. They want to feel Europeans better. And they look down on us. Look, they are even poor. And what is their image from India? But it's slowly changing, because in this TV show which I saw yesterday, there was the anchor was saying, I think an Indian, half Indian, he was saying we have to change our mindset towards those countries. We still think Europe and America, we, the West, we are ruling the world. And we should now know that we are not anymore even half of the population of the world. And we have to, change our mindset, because, it's wrong. So it's maybe slowly changing, but I think they don't want to let India come up. They try to, and pushing it down with happiness, so unhappy those people. Imagine Bangladesh, even Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka was at the time in a very dire strait, economically. They were all happier than Indians. And when you go out on the street, when I go into the bazaar, I come back recharged almost. When I go in Germany into the shopping center, it pulls you down. So in this way, India is very lucky that there is still this, I think it is because of the connection to the divine, that this connection is still in most people very present. And this trust also that you can take things more easily. And this is very lacking in your imagine you don't believe in God, and then you think you will die. I mean, it is very terrifying actually, no?
So let me ask you a little bit more deeper, that why the audience must know, when the West says the world, that just means Western European countries and USA and Canada and Australia. That's it. So past British colonies and in the European dialogue is dominated by the British generally. And the second source of European dialogue comes from France, which somehow is always out of line with the British and American viewpoints. And the third pillar in Europe viewpoints is Germany, which is the biggest economy of Germany. So these three countries, you can view Germany as the USA of Europe in terms of financial clout. But military, they don't have. They are dependent on USA for the military because of World War II. Now, coming with that background, my question to you is like, what is the insecurity in the mind? And readers should read chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita to understand how an asura thinks. And you will find every single definition applicable to many people having such kind of nature. So tell me why there is that insecurity. What do you see?
I mean, what is predominant in the West, what you defined as West, is materialism. You try to earn a lot of money. You want to be successful. You, you want to stand out somehow, but you do not have this connection to your divine self, because actually you doubt it, that there is even Atma in you, a power which is greater than you. And it should be so obvious that there must be a power which is greater than you, because I cannot even let grow my hair or how to function my liver. I know nothing about myself, in effect. And yet, these trillion of cells, somehow they make this Maria, and I think I know who I am, and basically I don't know who I am. So in this way, the West is lacking a very fundamental wisdom. And I think this wisdom is most important in life. And without it, you are kind of, some people, they want to be good, they are very compassionate maybe to animals, but it's not really clear. I mean, for example, they are compassionate to dogs and cats, but they eat cows and chickens and what. So I feel this is a problem in the West, that this this wisdom is not very present, and I feel India really can help us to know a deeper, to go deeper in life, and to discover also the happiness is inside. This is it doesn't come from a new car or even from a big job or whatever. Happiness has to come from inside. And this knowledge is in India most prominent. I mean, we have lost it. Maybe we had it earlier. And this India can help, I find.
So in the chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita, 11th and 12th shloka, Chintam pariyamam cha pralayantam upashrita, kamopabhoga parama etad viti nishchita, means they are always full of worries, like as if they are going to protect the world. I think the West has taken Hollywood movies too seriously. Always there is an American hero which saves the world, and or a Western hero. If you look at British movies or American movies, you will see that American hero is connecting the world. But if you look at the reality on the ground, they left their soldiers back in Afghanistan. In 1945, the Americans were 100 kilometers away from Berlin, and they let the Russians destroy Berlin. But in the movies, they will claim how American heroes won the World War. But it was the Russians who invaded Berlin. And if you look at the Sudan, the recent crisis now, which is very current, where Americans left 13,000 American citizens back in Sudan. They only evacuated their embassy staff, only the diplomatic staff. So kamopabhoga parama etad viditi nishchita. So they think that, like just now Maria said, that they are just enjoying the senses is the best, highest goal they have. And then they have so many hopes, asha pasha badher, kama krodha prayana, sense gratification, anger, they're filled with that. It is mentioned, actually Bhagavad Gita is about all the humans. These are the qualities we need to avoid. But somehow when we analyze through Bhagavad Gita, we usually see the right picture. And the last one is ihante kam bhogartham anyanenarth artha sanchayan. Means at the end of the day, everything is about earth, collecting wealth more than what they deserve. Now, this is the analysis from the very ancient time. How current is that? It's not that such kind of people don't exist in Eastern Asian countries, including India. But and by the way, Meru Parvat is a center of the. We'll talk about at some other show. But the point is that now the current media reports. Now this is what we see from a very ancient text, and we see the what's happening on the ground today. Now, what is the media reports like Freedom Index of USA or many of the US agency media outlets in Finland, in Sweden, in Norway, and also some agencies in Germany? What do they say about India?
I don't know now exactly what they say, but my impression is very much that they say freedom is very restricted in India. They very much criticize, they call the present Modi government as right-wing, yesterday also on German TV, right-wing nationalistic government, and they assume, they claim that this wants to have a Hindu nation through and through. He was saying it yesterday. And how did he express it? The violence against Muslims is increasing, which is absolutely not true, because Hindus are so much under attack in India. It is very sad to see that the narrative is being made in a way that India looks bad, especially Hindu India. They are patriarchal, and they want to have this kind of almost fascist type of government, which is absolutely not true. I mean, in my view, India has at present greater freedom of press, of expression than Germany and Europe or America. There's so much censoring now, especially also in media. I read yesterday that Zelensky managed to get the CIA or FBI to censor anything which is critical of Ukraine war. So this, and I remember when I was in Germany, for example, even about the migration issue in Germany, when only when I start talking, people come out also, but by themselves, they will not dare to say anything, because immediately they are labeled Nazi or racist. If they are a little critical, that maybe we should be more prudent whom to let in and whom not to let in. So this is one aspect.
So tell me one thing, like Germany, if you look at today's Germany, which is post-World War Germany, and they made so much economic gains, what do they benefit from it?
Actually, we don't have so much gain now. Germany has many poor people, and the prices have gone so up in recent time. And I feel this powerhouse of Germany, it is very much going down. And I think India will soon take over. And even Poland seems to be coming up more as a kind of good ally of America. More, I mean, Germany, I don't understand. We have roads which are not as good as in India now. People complain about the potholes and about the crumbling infrastructure, which is much older. Like even the airports, India has much better airports now. So yeah, it was powerful, and I feel this is. I wrote an article about it: Indian influence on German scientists, and consequently on German technology. They have taken a lot of knowledge from India. in the early 20th centuries, when all the scientists were Hertz and Einstein and Schrödinger, and they all knew not only about Vedanta, but I'm sure they knew also about concrete scientific inputs. I met, even in the 1980s, I met in India a German research scholar from a university in Germany, and he told me that he has a 2 years project in India to study ancient texts, not for spiritual clues, but for scientific clues. So Germany was always very interested in Indian knowledge. And I think they benefited a lot from it. And maybe this is also a reason that they kind of put India down. Sorry, because they don't want this to come out. They don't want Indians really to know it. And my suspicion is even there may be many manuscripts, including in the Vatican Library, which have disappeared. They were translated, the knowledge was taken, and the origin was kind of forgotten.
No, the Vedic knowledge is for the whole world, and therefore, in the Vedic system, the qualification of a person reading it is very important. That knowledge is not given to everybody because it can be misused, which we already see now, that how it can be misused for material gains only. Now, the coming to the last question of today's discussion is that sometimes we see that mostly the English educated crowd of India, by the way, why India is targeted, because they have the most powerful education system, and their scriptures are very well documented. Just to give you an idea, that just the main texts of Sanatan Dharma, Veda, Purana, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, they are more than 2,000 times, at least 2,000 to 3,000 times bigger than anything the West has ever produced in philosophy, despite they are producing so many books. But most of the books are just following Aristotle, which was neither a Christian nor a Muslim. He was just an agnostic philosopher, Greek philosopher. At that time, most of the Abrahamic cultures were not even there. So they are following a pre-Abrahamic cultures. Also, the second information, which for most of the readers will be very much interested, that even the Brahmi script was later transformed into Roman letters. If you read the Brahmi script and Roman letters are very similar, very similar. Now, coming to why targeting India, that is the reason, that insecurity because of the very well documented. And why propaganda only against the Hindus? Because the Western world thinks Africa, South America, and other countries, including some Eastern Asian countries like Philippines, they have already been conquered, Indonesia included. And but India is the only thing remaining unconquered because of Hindus. And that's how their mental superiority comes in. Now, from Maria, we'll try to ask her that, because she has been living in India and she knows that side also very well. Because unless you're born in those cultures, you won't understand those cultures. And that's a unique strength which Maria brings to the table, because she was born there, and so she understands the thought process. So tell me one thing, that what is the thought weakness you see in Indians today as compared to the artificial thought leadership in the West?
The thought weakness in India, I feel it is that there are still many Indians who do not treasure their knowledge, their heritage, and that they also don't, they ridicule it often, and that also many do not do sadhana and do not go deep into their tradition, because in education they were so brainwashed to believe that, oh, this is all not not useful, it's worthless, you can forget about it, you look to the West is everything, what you need in life, and this is wrong. But I would like maybe to tell you an example. There are still so many people, and I think this is frightening, the Westerners who know about India, who know its strengths, that there are so many people who who have powers also. I mean, I'm just reading now again autobiography of a yogi. I've read it 40 years ago. And I don't know whether I believed whatever things, but I just tell you an own personal experience, which I had at the last Kumbh Mela in Hardwar in 2021 on the Shivaratri day, Mahashivaratri day. If I may tell, I was standing at the roadside when the akaras, means the sadhus, the Naga sadhus came in a procession to go to the Ganga for the bath, for a ritual bath. So I was standing there. First, a Naga sadhu, fully naked, only smeared with ash. He stopped in front of me and said, give me 100 rupee. I gave him 100 rupee and he marched on. Then again, a sadhu stopped. This time he had some orange cloth. He was in the procession. They were all in the procession moving. He stopped in front of me and said, give me 100 rupee. Now I opened my purse. I didn't have 100 rupee. So I gave him 50 and 20. And he said, 30 is missing. Then I said, look, I don't have 100, but I have 200 only. Can you give me back? Then he said, I will give, मैं दे दूंगा. So I gave him I had given him 50 and 20, and now I gave him also 200. Now he had these 3 bills, and he put them one above the other and folded them very small and said, open your hand, and he pressed it in, this small little paper packet, and said, close your hand and keep it closed. But somehow I opened my hand very soon after, and the paper bills became bigger again. So he said, I told you, you keep it closed. So he folded it again and kept it in, and I kept it closed. And after about 4 or 5 minutes, I could feel in my hands that it didn't feel like paper anymore. It felt very smooth. So I opened, and I couldn't believe it. There was a Spatik Shiva Lingam in my hand. So the people around me, one woman from Gujarat, she was really almost frightened. She said, oh, that is not, and I have no explanation. If it was not my own hand, I might not even believe it. And I'm happy also that at first I opened it a bit so that I really could see that the paper was in, because I might have thought maybe he kind of disrupted me and I did not watch or something. But I knew the paper was in. And anyway, he just asked for 100 rupee. If I had given him 100 rupee, he would have marched on. It was not some chadu, or that he wanted to do some chadu with me. So it was a really amazing experience. And on top of it, next day, I went to an ashram for Aarti in the morning, and I went to the ashram shop afterwards, not expecting anything. And right at the entrance of this shop, there were these plastic pouches with the same Spatik Lingam. Just the same, it was a very small one. And I asked the price, and it was 160 rupee. So from 270, he gave back 160. So he kept his promise. I thought it was, I told my cousin in Germany, and he sent it to his daughter and her family and said, look what is happening in India. I mean, it cannot be explained. So I thought this was, and there are so many, maybe you do it up, but I feel it was just, there are so many things possible which we are not aware of. And in India, there's still this connection there. And I think people are afraid of this. And that's also why they want to disconnect Indians from it. They want them to say, this is all worthless. Your tradition, you can forget about it. No? learn science. Science is a big. Science is also models. Most of this is not yet really proven. No? A lot of science. I heard nobody has ever seen an atom even. Yet we have models. So there is India is still mystical, has still people who are connected, who don't show up. I mean, if it was not Shivaratri, I might not have even taken out my purse. I would not have. I would have just said no. Could be, no? Because I don't give everybody 100 rupees who ask me for it. So in this way, it was. I was very grateful that I did open my purse and that I had this amazing experience.
So when are you learning Hindi?
मैं तो हिंदी सीख रही हूँ लेकिन मैं बहुत पढ़ती हूँ एंड इंग्लिश में पढ़ती हूँ क्योंकि हिंदी में और मुश्किल है
हाँ,
लेकिन
बहुत धन्यवाद, क्योंकि आप एटलीस्ट लर्न करने की कोशिश कर रही हैं, क्योंकि आप देहरादून में रह।
या मेरे पास टाइम नहीं है तीन इतने चाइल्ड जाता है
So, but no, this is very startling for some people. They are, and I'm speaking English because we are communicating to a Western audience. So people need to know that this show is watched by many Americans and many Europeans and other countries and many Indian origin people who do not speak Hindi, like people from Barbados,
तमिल
Indonesia, and other people, even South India, and some people, they don't speak Hindi, they understand English. But I think that's going to change also slowly because the change is coming. People are realizing that people who speak their own native languages, they are economically more prosperous.
या
And, and like Japanese and many Indian businessmen who speak in local Hindi language, they are making more money than the regular English speakers. Now, because the English education system creates employees, not entrepreneurs. So you need to know that majority of the entrepreneurship skills of India is coming from villages and small towns where they speak local languages. Now, it was the last question of thing, but I'll still ask one more thing, and you give a very short answer. That what is the solution to for Indians and other natives across the world to start ignoring the Western propaganda, superiority propaganda?
basically it should be so easy to ignore it because you must be knowing now what is the situation in the West. I mean, it has morality has degraded to such an extent that it should be so obvious that nobody should follow the path which the West has gone. Is this short enough, Aditya?
Yes, it's short enough. And I must add also there, because most of the in the Western countries, the human rights leadership and the morality platforms are being challenged in their own countries, but their media is colonizing them as much as they colonize other countries. Like in America, to get the truth in any situation, you have to rely on foreign media. And
And
yes,
yeah.
go ahead. And
I
social.
remember when I was a child, we were always told Russians are brainwashing their people. And now only I realized that Germans are very much brainwashed also, and Westerners in general.
It's like who does brainwashing before anyone else. It's like that. It's a competition for brainwashing. But and I also request the Indian academics, Indian universities, to spread their wings all over the world with an alternative truth, just like Chinese have done. Chinese have done Confucius Institutes, but there is a need or and a space also for the Indian academics who speak on the world. That there is a space there, and you can also join the bandwagon. And Indian government also has to play a more active role through their embassies to promote an independent thought. So that will be a very great value addition to the West, at least the people of the West who are also getting enslaved by the propaganda in their own countries. So not just India, it's the West also. So you'll see a lot of new religions coming up in the West, led by America, and the new religions coming in Europe, led by Germany and UK and France. So these are the four countries to watch out for. And rest of the world is not the world for these countries, believe me. So with that, I'll stop here. You want to add anything, Maria?
No, thank you. Thank you for calling me. And
Thank you very much for the viewers. And we have changed our format of the discussion. So you saw that in this video and all the videos coming forth. Namaste and Dhanyawad. Thank you.